It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers, and we have a lot to talk about. We are zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth in understanding the doublespeak, the language, pattern, and style of a malignant narcissist or truly a psychopathic antisocial personality disorder. And before we get started on this very important topic that I think you'll find most illuminating, interesting, and you can apply to help protect you moving forward and heal successfully through this, I just really want to give a huge shout out to those of you who have recently made donations to the channel. Thank you so much for stepping up to the plate, putting some skin in the game, and saying, I am worth it. This content is meaningful to me, and it keeps me inspired. It keeps me creative to develop this content and keeps me coming to the channel day in and day out. I think that I might take a day off, or maybe this isn't really helping anyone, and then we get donations in, and it keeps me inspired to know that we are fulfilling a need here and we're delivering it in a way that can help radically change your life. So that's really what it's all about. So I want to give a huge shout out. Thank you so much. And absolutely, if I have been an important or positive influence in your life, absolutely feel free to make a donation. There's a small PayPal donate now button on the right hand side of the About tab here at YouTube. And absolutely positively, I would welcome your donation. So we are zooming in and focusing in on a really important aspect of understanding someone who has a true antisocial personality disorder. And that really is that of doublespeak. Now, doublespeak is a term, and it basically means it's a language that deliberately, meaning consciously, obscures, disguises, or distorts or reverses the meaning of words. I'm going to repeat that. So the term is called doublespeak, and this is a common manipulative tool that a psychopath will engage in naturally. So when we talk about conscience, conscience is like a seventh sense. It's your inherent sense of right or wrong, good or bad. It's a sense where your humanity is called into question. In other words, if you were to roll over, if you were to hit an animal on the road, would you feel a tinge of pain? If you were to see a baby crying, would you be, or seeing it getting hurt or abused by an elder or a parent, would you feel sensitive? Would you feel like a need to protect that child? Other causes of morality. You hear of something going on where they're exploiting the weakness and vulnerability of others, and they cannot get the medicine that they need or the health care that they need, and you have a sense of humanity. You have a sense of compassion and conscience coming into play. So that's really kind of like a seventh sense, which is built into your own existence as a person. And it's something that you don't really have to learn. It's something that you just know. So that's really your conscience. It's the ability that says it's important to follow laws. It's important to have social norms. It's important to know that I'm not going to steal. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to deceive. So that's conscience, and that is how you know and how it plays out in your life. So these individuals literally do not have the psychological hardware, which is that of conscience. So in other words, there's no brakes on the vehicle. There is no stopgap. There is no sort of holding back. And so these individuals who are psychopathic, they tend to make a self-assessment. This is to the positive. In other words, those people who are hindered or held back by conscience, it's holding you back from being in power. So they tend to make a positive self-assessment versus saying that is breaking the law. You're hurting others, you're exploiting others. We need to regulate this. So they learn then to engage in ways to manipulate and deceive others. And specifically, one of their very highly used or common tools is that of doublespeak. So once again, it's a language that a psychopath will use that deliberately obscures, disguises, distorts, or reverses the meaning of words. It can take the form of euphemisms, for example, meaning it's, we're downsizing, meaning i.e. we're laying off, we're cutting. They will use euphemisms to make it seem more positive than it is. And or servicing the target, i.e. taking somebody out. It's a euphemism. It's a way of obscuring or deceiving you. And how is this used in a relationship? In other words, terms that you will commonly assess as positive, or that the relationship is going somewhere, or the relationship is serious. They might call you nicknames. You're, hey mama, or hey daddy, or whatever it is that they might call you, a nickname. And that implies to you of a familial relationship, or you are their main squeeze, their main love. And they will keep you in that cycle of believing that you are their main object of loyalty. They might call you my number one, or the most beautiful woman, or the most handsome man. You're the greatest provider. You give the most amazing kisses. Little things that they will tell you, and nicknames particularly, hey mama, or something like that makes you feel like you are their kin, and that make you feel that you are irreplaceable, or you can't be replaced, or in their life. And so these can be used as euphemism or doublespeak when they really have no heartfelt feeling of that, but they use that as a tool for keeping you stuck, to keeping you blind, to keeping you in the relationship when they know that they are behind your back, cheating, lying, engaging in all sorts of other experiences or behaviors which are contradictory to the message with which they are telling you. And basically, doublespeak is one in which, in case it primarily is meant to make the truth sound more palpable. And it's also like an intentional ambiguity, where they're keeping you in sort of that illusion, that floaty feeling. And a lot of, it's meant to disguise the nature of the truth. And so oftentimes you feel like this relationship is, more profound and more healing, or answering to your prayers, meaning that you have committed a loyalty to this person because there is this tinge of charisma. There's this element that they can make me feel better than anybody else can. And also when then the meaning, as we're saying, of things are transmuted, or they are meant to take on a new meaning with which they have no actual meaning in reality. In other words, sexualizing or hypersexualizing everything, including objects. It begins to distort the way things are formatted in your mind. A road is no longer a road. It's a euphemism, or a metaphor for the road to, your heart, or the road to, your inner. I don't want to use the female term, but in other words, there's a doublespeak, and I'm not going to get too into it here, because I know those of you who have experienced this relationship with others who are psychopathic, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I want you to understand that if you have experienced this, it's a good testimony that this is part of what is so difficult to get back into meaning in your life and feeling like you are normal, you are coherent with your senses, is because so much of this doublespeak has been utilized in the relationship. And so it can become very difficult to recalibrate your internal neurochemistry back to what you truly value. So that's why I discussed how important it is for you to really eliminate, get rid of all the different contact and connections with them. Begin to move away from the emotional routes in which they were thinking. In other words, thinking like the psychopath. In other words, to always be aroused for them, always be available for them, to always be intrigued by them, to always have that air of interest and fascination, which tends to permeate the psychopath. When we talk about all the prolific research that has been done, they talk about how there's this charm, there's this glow that can tend to emanate from the psychopath, and it's because they have this tool of manipulation and this charisma, and they know that they exude this energy, which oftentimes is very difficult to pull yourself away from. You feel in their grips. There's something energetically about them that seems to emanate. And even though in the beginning, in the love bombing stage, this might have been identified as a positive feeling, you really do need to flip it around and identify that, you know what, this actually is very negative, because it's taking away my ability to control and assign my own actual emotional meaning and content to things, versus having it created by a psychopath who has less than positive desire to help me in my life. In other words, there's always a malintent. And always is a heavy term, but unequivocally, it is, deception to fool you, and it becomes almost a legal issue, more so than even, a question or, a religious issue versus like a healthcare issue. It becomes, very immoral. And so it becomes a really wave that people then become divorced from themselves. They become a feeling of not being able then to fulfill the same level of disconnect, or again, it's a connection or addiction to this doublespeak, the enigma, the sense that they twist and turn and contort meaning of things, so that they no longer take on a normal value. They're twisted and contorted, oftentimes very hypersexualized. I'll leave it at that, where everything is sexualized, from a piece of furniture to a piece of clothing to drawings on the wall to colors to meaning is disconnected and then refixed or reconnected in the way that the psychopath desires for you to perceive it. And it's so that they can take over control of your mind and your emotions and your feeling, so that you constantly have them on your mind. And there's a wonderful book, a national bestseller, called The Sociopath Next Door by Dr. Martha Stout. And she describes in the preliminary bit of her book, how important it is to understand that these people are within, the everyday walk of life, and that they can be the most unassuming of people. And so that's part of the doublespeak, is that you would never imagine that someone would do this to hurt or destroy or ruin you. And these are very strong, heavy words, but this is actuality. This is reality for these people. In other words, that's how they get a thrill. That's how they get connected with people. And so if you have been encountered this type of individual, it's very important for you then to understand that this is a learning moment, and there's really nothing that you did wrong. It shows you that you have humanity. So if you alchemize it to the positive and say, it's actually showing me more of who I am, that I'm a clear communicator. I have a natural, organic, and normal way of communicating that had been disrupted by this presence. It is that state that I want to restore myself and return to. And, that is which I love, and which I'm always keeping in my focus now. And the good news is that your natural, coherent sense of self and your natural feeling will be restored. It does take time. But this experience of doublespeak can oftentimes send you way off the path, and also cause you to want to go back to that train of thought, that thought pattern, or that psychopathic thinking. Because it's so different, because it's so divergent. Perhaps, it took you on a whole other path than your life before. In other words, this seemed to be exciting or thrilling or addicting or whatever it is. It had you in its clenches. But remember that this is not a positive because it had you in its grip, you didn't have a grip on it. So now it's very important for you to let that go and no longer become attracted to that thrill, that it's really very, a lot of people will use it diabolical in nature, in that it's trying to shred away your own coherent, your own authentic, organic self. In other words, your physiology is not working in the way that the creator intended. It's been, hijacked and sort of, made off-ramp, offline. So you need to pull yourself back online and taking 100% responsibility, and then really rehabituate yourself back to what you really are humanly attracted to, and to not feel guilty, not feel that it's boring, not feel that no one will love you anymore. These are the questions that oftentimes hold people back or keep them in that hurt state, is that they feel that it's too late for them, they can never be restored, or that they will not ever be able to heal, that people won't be attracted to them in their natural way that they are, because of this very profound and deep hurt that has been created by this individual. So knowing that to be the case, that you have felt this deep and profound hurt, is an indicator that this person is not right for you, and unequivocally they are going to do it to the next person, the next job, their family members. It does not discriminate between who they will treat with this sort of deception, this disguising of their language. And so it's very important for you to come to that awareness and validate yourself and just say, I understand this now. This is how this person is, how they will always be. It's nothing that I did to deserve this. I was not I did not have an error of judgment. I was vulnerable. I had opened myself up. But furthermore, I'm sealing off my boundaries and standards. And now my new qualifications for relationships include those people who have an ease of communication, so we can communicate easily. There isn't this sort of tinge of humor where things are trying to become more palatable, or they're calling me by nicknames, or deluding me into a sense of relationship that does not exist, that is empty or vaporous. And so they become the new qualifications for you. And as you hold that as a new standard, you'll realize that there are the real, authentic, the genuine people who are almost like God sends to you, where you feel that you are being restored. So begin to open yourself up and say, okay, little by little, I'm going to open up myself to the new standards that I have set forth for myself, which are self-protective, and that I can set forth for myself. It's in owning that decision. And once you're able to back that decision up, life will conspire to meet you and deliver to those higher standards. So begin to make those adjustments. Give yourself a real stronger sense of turning away from that which is duplicitous, which makes you feel uncomfortable. And when you know it, begin to trust in your seventh sense, really that state of conscience, and begin to direct more of your life with that, and really begin to become more aware of conscience for yourself, and how it really does, those people really do win who honor and obey their higher conscience and their intuition, as well as resensitizing yourself to that which is enlightening, strengthening, and really giving healthifying you, giving true health and vibrancy to your senses, so that they're sharp, keen, and aware, and your life is really begin to flow and grow in a positive, orderly direction for yourself moving forward. You will heal. You can do this. Beware of that doublespeak. This is your buddy. Peace and harmony with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.